At the highest point on Earth, nothing should exist. Yet explorers found something deeply unsettling. It wasn't supposed to be there, and no one could explain why. The discovery changed how we see this place forever. Join us as we uncover what was found at the top of the world.
Number 11. Death Zone Body Preservation. Above 26,000 feet, human bodies don't decompose. The death zone is a natural freezer. Temperatures stay below zero year-round. Oxygen levels are so low that bacteria can't survive. The things that normally break down organic matter don't exist up there, so bodies stay intact, some for decades. Hannelore Schmatz died in 1979, becoming the first woman to die on Everest's upper slopes. Her body sat upright against a rock for years. Climbers passed her constantly. The wind eventually blew her off the mountain. Frances Arsentiev died in 1998. She and her husband attempted the summit without supplemental oxygen. They succeeded, but got separated during descent. Her husband Sergei went back looking for her and fell to his death. Frances was found alive the next morning by other climbers. She was hypothermic, unable to move or speak coherently. They tried to help, but couldn't get her down. She died on the mountain. Her body earned the nickname Sleeping Beauty because of how she looked, lying peacefully on her side. Years later, a group spent significant effort moving her body out of sight. Not down the mountain, just hidden. That's the best they could do. In 2024, a cleanup expedition removed 5 bodies from the death zone. The cost per body? Up to $200,000. It requires 8 climbers to move 1 corpse. The weight, the altitude, the danger, it's nearly impossible. Most families can't afford it, so the bodies stay. Over 200 of them scattered across the mountain's upper reaches. They serve as grim waypoints for other climbers, reminders of what happens when things go wrong. The mountain doesn't care about your experience or preparation. One mistake in the death zone is permanent.
Number 10. South Col Glacier Ice Loss. The South Col sits at 26,200 feet between Everest and Lhotse. It's the staging point for summit attempts from Nepal's side. In 2019, scientists and Sherpas hauled drilling equipment up there. They wanted to see what was happening to the glacier. They pulled a 33-foot ice core from the glacier. When they tested it, the results were shocking. The ice at the surface was 2,000 years old. That means all the new ice that should have accumulated over 2 millennia is gone. The glacier has lost roughly half its mass since the 1990s. It's disappearing at a rate that suggests it could vanish within a few decades. This isn't just about climate data. This glacier provides water for the millions of people living downstream. When it's gone, that water source disappears. But there's another consequence nobody talks about: bodies. Everest has become a frozen tomb for over 300 climbers. Most died in the death zone, where recovery is nearly impossible. As temperatures rise and glaciers melt, those bodies are emerging. In 2024, a cleanup team recovered 5 bodies, including one that was just skeletal remains. Rescuers spent hours chipping away ice with axes. Sometimes they had to pour boiling water to release the frozen grip. One body took an entire day to extract. It was frozen with arms and legs spread out. They couldn't bend it, so they had to carry it down to Camp 3 in that position before they could put it in a sled. The mountain is revealing its secrets. Not just bodies, but also gear, trash, and artifacts from expeditions going back decades. Climate change is turning Everest into an archaeological site, an ice museum that's melting in real time.
I'm going to ask you a simple question. Are you a naturally curious person? If you're watching, I'm pretty sure the answer is yes. This space is made for people like us. To ensure you're always part of this community and receive all our latest discoveries, you just need to do one thing: subscribe to the channel. It's the best way to stay connected with us. Okay, now that you're part of our Legion of the Curious, let's move on to the next item.
Number 9. Microplastics discovery at summit. 2020. Scientists climb to just below Everest's summit and collect snow samples. They test them for microplastics. Every single sample contains contamination, tiny threads and fragments of plastic. Most of it comes from climbing gear, synthetic jackets, ropes, tents. Everything modern climbers use sheds microscopic particles. Those particles get trapped in the snow and ice. The wind carries some of it, but most comes from direct contact. Thousands of people have climbed this mountain. Each one leaves invisible pollution behind. The highest point on Earth isn't pure anymore. The snow that looks pristine and untouched is actually laced with human garbage at a molecular level. Scientists took 11 samples from different elevations. All 11 were contaminated. The concentration was highest near Camp 4 and the summit, where climbers spend the most time. This discovery mirrors what's been found in the deepest ocean trenches. Microplastics have infiltrated every environment on the planet, even places humans rarely visit. The particles don't break down, they accumulate. Fish in the Mariana Trench have microplastics in their stomachs. Snow on Everest contains the same pollution. We've marked our presence everywhere. It's not just Everest. The entire Himalayan range shows signs of microplastic contamination. Studies found particles in remote mountain streams, in soil samples from base camps, in the bodies of high-altitude birds. This pollution doesn't respect elevation or isolation. It travels through air and water. It settles into environments that should be untouched. The irony is brutal. Climbers go to Everest seeking pristine wilderness, proof that nature still exists beyond human reach. What they find is a mountain we've already altered at the chemical level.
Number 8. Edmund Hillary, first summit photo, 1953. May 29, 1953, 11:30 a.m. Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay stand on top of the world. They're the first humans confirmed to reach Everest's summit. Hillary pulls out his camera, but there's a problem. Only one photo exists from that historic moment, and it's not of Hillary. It's of Tenzing. Hillary took the photo, which means he's not in it. Tenzing didn't know how to use the camera. Hillary never asked him to take his picture. So the only proof of Hillary being there is Tenzing's word and the fact that someone had to take the photo. The image shows Tenzing holding his ice axe high. Flags from the United Nations, Britain, Nepal, and India hang from the axe. His face is completely covered by oxygen gear and goggles. You can't see his expression, but his posture says everything. Arms raised in victory. The photo became one of the most famous images of the 20th century, but it immediately sparked controversy. Indian and Nepalese newspapers wanted to know who stepped on top first. National pride was at stake. The climbing world didn't care about that question. To mountaineers, both men reached the summit together. That's all that mattered. But politicians and press kept pushing. Finally, years later, Tenzing revealed in his autobiography that Hillary stepped onto the summit a few steps before him. Hillary had been breaking trail through deep snow. He just happened to be in front. They spent only 15 minutes at the top. Hillary searched for any sign that Mallory and Irvine had been there in 1924. He found nothing. They buried some sweets and a cross in the snow. Then they started down. When they reached their teammate George Lowe lower on the mountain, Hillary's first words were, "Well, George, we knocked the bastard off."
Number 7. Kami Rita Sherpa Record Summits. May 21, 2024. Kami Rita Sherpa stands on top of Everest for the 30th time. 30 summits. More than any human in history. He's 54 years old. He started climbing Everest in 1994 as a support climber. His job was to carry loads, fix ropes, and set up camps for paying clients. Over 30 years, he turned that work into a record that will be nearly impossible to break. Each summit requires months of preparation, weeks of acclimatization, and multiple trips through the Khumbu icefall. Kami Rita has crossed that deadly section hundreds of times. He's seen friends die. He's pulled bodies from crevasses. He keeps climbing because it's his job. His family depends on it. Sherpa guides earn around $5,000 to $8,000 per climbing season. That's more than most Nepalese make in a year. But the cost is high. Sherpas face exponentially more risk than clients. They make more trips to higher camps. They carry heavier loads. They work in the death zone while clients rest. Kami Rita's father was a Sherpa guide. His brother died on Everest in 2013. Despite that, Kami Rita's sons want to follow in his footsteps. The climbing business has transformed the Sherpa community. It brought money to villages that had none. It built schools and hospitals. But it also created a generation of workers in one of the world's most dangerous professions. Kami Rita doesn't seek glory. He rarely gives interviews. When he does, he's humble about his achievement. He credits teamwork and luck. Other Sherpas are close behind his record. Pasang Dawa Sherpa has 28 summits. Lakpa Sherpa, a woman from Nepal who lives in the United States, has summited 10 times, more than any other woman. The record will keep climbing. As long as foreigners pay $50,000 to $90,000 to summit Everest, Sherpas will keep guiding them up. Each summit adds to the total, but each trip also increases the odds that something will go wrong. The mountain doesn't care about records.
It just waits.
Number 6. Khumbu Icefall Deaths, 2014. April 18th, 2014, 6:45 a.m. The Khumbu Icefall sits between Everest Base Camp and Camp 1. It's a river of ice filled with crevasses and towers of ice called seracs. These seracs can collapse without warning. Every climber on the south side of Everest must pass through this death trap multiple times. 16 Sherpas are working in the icefall that morning. They're fixing ropes and placing ladders for the upcoming climbing season. It's early, before sunrise, when the ice is most stable. That's the safest time to work there. They're waiting for a ladder to be positioned over a crevasse. A massive serac on Everest's west shoulder breaks loose. The ice block is the size of a mansion. It weighs 14,300 tons. It crashes down into the icefall, triggering an avalanche. 25 men get buried. Rescue teams rush in. They recover 13 bodies within 48 hours. Then they stop. The risk is too high. 3 bodies remain buried under 80 to 100 meters of snow and ice. They'll never be recovered. This becomes the deadliest single-day disaster on Everest. All 16 dead are Nepalese Sherpas. Not a single foreign climber dies. The disparity is brutal. Sherpas do the most dangerous work on the mountain. They cross the icefall dozens of times per season, carrying gear, fixing ropes, setting up camps. Clients might cross it 4 times total. The Sherpa community is devastated. They demand better compensation from the Nepalese government. They want insurance, death benefits, better working conditions. The government offers what they consider inadequate. On April 22nd, the Sherpas announced they won't work on Everest for the rest of 2014. It's a mark of respect for the dead. The climbing season shuts down. Between 1953 and 2023, almost 50 people have died in the Khumbu Icefall. The majority are Sherpas. The section has earned a grim nickname, the Tomb of the Sherpas.
Number 5. Hillary Step Collapse, 2015. For 62 years, the Hillary Step was the final major obstacle before Everest's summit, a 40-foot vertical rock face at 28,840 feet. Edmund Hillary first climbed it in 1953 by wedging himself between the rock and a ridge of ice. The technique is called chimneying. Every climber after him had to do the same thing. The step was narrow. Only one person could climb at a time. This created bottlenecks. During busy summit days, climbers would wait for hours in the death zone, burning oxygen and energy. Falling off meant a 10,000-foot drop to Nepal on one side or an 8,000-foot drop to Tibet on the other. April 25, 2015, a 7.8 magnitude earthquake hits Nepal. The epicenter is 100 miles from Everest, but the shaking is violent. Avalanches sweep down multiple faces of the mountain. Base camp gets hit. 19 people die there. The quake moves Kathmandu nearly 10 feet from its original position. Climbers evacuate. The season ends early. Nobody checks on the Hillary Step until 2016. When climbers return the next year, they notice something different. The step looks wrong. In May 2017, British guide Tim Mosedale summits and posts on Facebook. It's official. The Hillary Step is no more. He describes rubble and debris where the rock face used to be. The iconic crack that climbers wedged themselves into? Gone, replaced by unstable boulders and a snow slope. The Nepalese government denies this. Officials claim the step is intact, just covered by snow. They tell climbers not to talk to media about it. But photos don't lie. Experienced climbers who summited before 2015 and after all report the same thing. The rock formation changed. Some say it's easier now. Others say it's more dangerous because the snow can shift and the loose rocks are unpredictable. One thing is certain. A piece of mountaineering history disappeared in the earthquake.
Number 4. 1996 Everest Disaster Bodies. May 10th, 1996. 8 people die on Everest in a single day. It becomes the deadliest disaster in the mountain's history at that time. 2 commercial expeditions got caught in a sudden storm high on the mountain. The guide, Rob Hall, reaches the summit with his client, Doug Hansen. They're late. Way too late. The turnaround time is 2 p.m. They summit after that deadline. On the descent, Hansen runs out of oxygen and can't continue. Hall stays with him. The storm hits. Hall's wife is pregnant back in New Zealand. He radios base camp, talks to her one last time. He knows he's not coming down. His body is found later, still at the south summit, frozen in his final position. Scott Fisher, guide for another expedition, collapses from altitude sickness and exhaustion. His body remains high on the mountain. Yasuko Namba, a Japanese climber, attempting to become the second woman to summit all 7 summits, gets separated in the whiteout. She's found the next morning, still alive, but barely. She dies before rescue arrives. The disaster exposes a dark truth about commercial expeditions.
Too many inexperienced climbers were on the mountain, guided by companies that prioritized summit success over safety. The bottleneck at the Hillary step delayed everyone. By the time people reached the top, they'd spent too long in the deck zone. The descent became a death march. John Krakauer wrote Into Thin Air about the experience. He was there, working as a journalist. The book details how small decisions snowball into catastrophe at that altitude. Years later, the bodies of several 1996 victims were recovered during cleanup expeditions. But some remain, frozen landmarks for future climbers to pass on their own summit attempts.
Number 3. Ordovician marine fossils at summit. 450 million years ago, the rocks at Everest summit were at the bottom of an ocean. Not just any ocean, a warm, tropical sea full of life. Today, those same rocks sit at 29,032 feet above sea level. When climbers reach the top, they're standing on an ancient seabed. The summit limestone contains fossils of creatures that never saw land. Trilobites, those weird armored bugs that crawled across prehistoric ocean floors. Crinoids, also called sea lilies, that looked like underwater flowers but were actually animals. Brachiopods, shellfish that lived in colonies. All of them extinct for hundreds of millions of years. Edmund Hillary collected limestone samples when he first summited in 1953. Scientists examined them and found the fossils embedded inside. This wasn't a fluke. The entire top of Everest is made from compressed sea life. Here's how it happened. Around 200 million years ago, India was part of a supercontinent called Gondwana, attached to Australia and Africa. Then it broke free and started drifting north. As India moved, it pushed up ocean floor ahead of it, creating a shallow sea. Life thrived there. When India finally crashed into Asia about 55 million years ago, that collision was cataclysmic. The two continental plates crunched together with unimaginable force. The ocean floor got squeezed, folded, and thrust upward. What was once underwater became the tallest mountain range on Earth. The fossils in that limestone are proof. This discovery helped confirm plate tectonics theory when it was first proposed. Mountains aren't permanent. They're just crushed ocean floors pushed to the sky. Number 2. George Mallory Body Discovery, 1999. May 1, 1999. A team of climbers stumbles across something that shouldn't be there. At 26,700 feet on Everest's north face, they find a body so well preserved it looks like the man died yesterday. His skin is bleached white from decades of sun exposure, but his clothes tell a different story. This isn't modern gear. This is tweed, rope, and vintage leather boots. The man is George Mallory, missing for 75 years. He vanished in 1924 trying to be the first person ever to summit Everest. When they flip the body over, they see rope burns around his waist, deep marks that show he was tied to someone when he fell. His climbing partner, Andrew Irvine, is still missing. Here's where it gets crazy. Mallory promised to leave a photo of his wife on the summit if he made it. They search his pockets. No photo. This means one of two things. Either he never reached the top, or he left the photo there and died on the way down. If he summited, then Edmund Hillary wasn't the first in 1953. Mallory beat him by 29 years. The team finds Mallory's goggles in his pocket, not on his face. This means he was climbing in darkness or twilight. Fatal mistake at that altitude. His leg is broken, several ribs fractured. The fall must have been brutal. But the mountain preserved everything. Even his fingernails are intact. They bury him where they found him, marking the spot with stones. The camera that could prove he reached the summit has never been found. Neither has Irvine's body. Until 2024, when climbers discover a boot with Irvine's name stitched inside. The mystery deepens, but the answer stays frozen somewhere on that mountain.
Number 1. Himalayan jumping spiders at 22,000 feet. 1924. A naturalist on one of the early Everest expeditions notices something impossible. Tiny spiders active at 22,000 feet. At that altitude, there's barely enough oxygen to think. Temperatures regularly drop below zero. Nothing should be alive up there. But these spiders are hunting. In the 1950s, another team confirms it. The Himalayan jumping spider lives higher than any other animal with a permanent residence. We're not talking about birds that fly over or insects blown up by wind. These spiders live there. They build tiny shelters in rock cracks and wait. They're only a few millimeters long, but they're ambush predators. Their prey? Springtails and small flies that get carried up the mountain by thermal air currents. The insects don't want to be there, They're just unlucky. The wind catches them and deposits them on the rocks. The spiders have adapted to survive on this accidental food delivery service. They can withstand temperatures that would kill most creatures. When it gets too cold, they retreat into crevices and enter a state close to hibernation. Their metabolism slows to almost nothing. When the sun warms the rocks, they emerge and hunt. Scientists call them Euphrites omnisuperstis. That Latin name basically means standing above everything. It's accurate. These spiders might be the highest-dwelling permanent residents on Earth. Think about that. While climbers struggle with every breath, spending weeks acclimatizing just to survive a few hours in the death zone, these tiny hunters live there full-time. They've evolved to thrive where humans can only visit briefly before their bodies start shutting down. 8 eyes watching from cracks in the rock. Silent predators in the harshest environment on the planet.
Still curious? Then don't stop now. The next mystery is already waiting for you. Just click the video on screen. I saved it just for you. See you there, curious one.